Okay, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mafia Members Podcast, a podcast for the Bills Mafia by the Bills Mafia. And we are finally here. It is game week, first game of the NFL season coming up this week. And yeah, super excited that the season is finally underway. We went through the whole draft, we went through the whole training camps and waited. We're finally here. Thursday night, the first game kicks off. Can't wait for it. Cannot wait for the season to finally start. And Sunday, 1:00, the Bills finally get a home opener, 1:00, first weekend of the season. It's going to be great. Yeah. So, like I said, we're super excited for the first week of the season, but that means that this episode is going to be our kind of our season prediction show. So we'll give a final season prediction. We'll kind of go through the what I think the season end awards will be like, and we'll do it NFL, but also just focus on the Bills as well. So I'll give two kind of options. We'll talk about the week one game coming up on Sunday, and yeah, that'll kind of be the show for this week. As always, guys, let me know in the comments, all that kind of stuff. Go give me a follow on all social media at Mafia Members Pod. Check it out. Check it out on YouTube, Mafia Members Podcast. All that good stuff. We're like 2 subscribers away from getting to 50, which will be huge because then I can do that's kind of like the first hurdle or the first kind of thing when you're for YouTube to kind of, it unlocks a couple other things that you can do. So tell your friend to tell a friend, go subscribe to the show on YouTube. And yeah, let's get into it.
The Mafia Members Podcast.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to the show. As always, we are brought to you by the Shakeback Media Group. So shout out to Willie from Shakeback Media. Yeah, I did a big show with them last Wednesday. It was had a blast with them. We kind of went through everything. Kind of similar to what we're going to do on this show. So go check it out. It's on. I think it was on my Twitter and my YouTube as well. So you can check it out there, but it's also on the Shakeback Media Group's pages. It was called The Super Show. There was four other people on there, so it was great. We had a great conversation. So definitely go check that out and go check out the Shakeback Media Group. But week one is finally here. College football has started. Not a huge college football guy. Trying to get into it a little bit more this year. But it is kind of some of the stuff I was watching just made me so much more excited for the NFL to actually start. I can't wait. Cannot wait. So week one we are hosting Arizona Cardinals. So my live show on Wednesday is going to be with his name is Kyler Bird. He's a writer for Fan Nation on Sports Illustrated. He's a he has a thing called the Bird's Eye View. So we'll definitely chat with him about all that kind of stuff. We're going to have him on the show. He'll give us I'm hoping he'll give us a little bit of insight to the Cardinals because they're kind of similar to us, whatever 5, 6, 7 years ago when we weren't really in the national media. But there's still lots of things going on there. Like they obviously have gotten Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler's supposed to be coming back, healthy, ready to go, ready to have a good first or not first, but a good whole season. I actually drafted him in my fantasy team. So there's lots of stuff that we'll be chatting about with him. Lots of question marks around the team. Like I said, just because they're not in the national media, they're kind of floating under the radar a little bit. Like I'll have some questions about the defense and kind of what he sees from them and what he thinks they can be like and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to get that going. But with that being said, I think just at face value, the Bills should win this game. Like we haven't heard much from the Cardinals in the past couple of years. Maybe they're a little bit better, but if they are a little bit better this year, they're still not as good as Buffalo. So I think Buffalo should win this game. I think they should win it pretty easily. But we'll have to see. I think this week 1 game we're finally going to get to see how the offense is going to be like the kind of style of play that we're going to get. Obviously they'll switch up based on matchups and teams that they're going to be playing. Game planning for. Yes, I hope they better have a game plan for week 1. But I just think that we'll be able to we'll finally get to see, how much is James Cook going to be used? How much is Kincaid going to be targeted? How much is Shakir going to be focused on as the Bills' number 1 option? Like, is the defense going to be focusing on him? And then we gotta kind of look elsewhere, and look to see how well Curtis Samuel is going to fit in, see how well how much Keon Coleman is going to play, how much of an impact all these guys are going to have. We're going to have to see how the defense is going to do without Milano. So yeah, I think all those question marks will all get answered, but I think ultimately the Bills should win the game. They should win it pretty. I never want to say pretty easily because we like to struggle against bad teams. For whatever reason, we play down kind of to our opponent. Like we saw last year against the Giants or the Patriots or even the Jaguars to some extent. Games that were Denver, games that we should be winning and they were close. So yeah, definitely think that it'll be a win. I think it'll be a ground attack for week 1. I think we're going to see a lot of James Cook week 1 just to kind of get everyone's feet wet in the season, kind of get everybody into a groove and especially like the first 2 quarters, maybe first quarter, maybe 2, just trying to get the get the flow going, get everybody kind of into the game and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll kind of see what we'll see what Josh Allen can do with this wide receiver group and the pass catchers that we have. But like I said, I think this is going to be a James Cook. This is going to be a James Cook game, Ray Davis game, Josh Allen rushing game. I think we're just going to be really ground heavy. I think that's kind of going to be the blueprint for the whole season. But you never really know until you see them. But I don't think just because we do it this game, like we'll have the identity of a team that is a run heavy team. But I think that we'll have that identity, but we'll also be like, okay, but they're sneaky good at passing as well. Like all of our wide receivers that we have now are big yards after the catch guys and catch rate guys. Like they don't have as many drops as we've had on our teams previously. So I think with that being said, we'll definitely. It's kind of weird. It's like, okay, they're a run first team, but they also, Josh Allen is going to throw for 4,000 yards. You know what I mean? So I think it's yeah. But week one, just ironing out all the kinks and getting everybody on the same page. Expect James Cook to have a big game. Josh Allen probably runs a touchdown. Ray Davis probably snipes a goal line attempt from James Cook. Yeah, I'm just excited to actually get into the season. But yeah, that's how I see it playing out. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think we probably win, by 2 touchdowns. Maybe it's like a 21-7 kind of game. Field goal here or there. Like a 24-10 game kind of thing. But I think it's definitely a 2-score win for the Bills. Just because I don't think Arizona's that great defensively. I think it's going to take a while for the Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. connection to kind of, be at its peak. So I think it's lucky that we were able to get them in the first week of the season as opposed to maybe halfway through or closer to the end of the season when maybe those guys are firing on all cylinders and it poses a little bit more of a challenge. I don't think James Conner's all that great of a running back. I think we're going to be good at stopping the run. I think we're going to have issues stopping the pass. So that's why I think it's an advantage for us. Having playing them the first week of the season. But yeah, I think ultimately it's a two-score win for the Bills. Yeah, and I think the Bills score 3 touchdowns and a field goal, something like that, 24, 20, yeah, 24, 27 points, something like that. And they'll probably give up a touchdown. Just trying to sort it all out on defense as well. We'll see how well Dorian can fill in for Matt Milano, which is obviously an impossible task, but it is what it is. So yeah, so that's kind of how I see game one playing out. And so as far as the season goes, I think I've given my prediction on here a few times. But I had them at what did we have them at? A 12-5 season, I think, because I think we're going to lose one of the games to Miami. We'll say we're going to lose to Baltimore. We'll give Kansas City and San Fran as losses. So there's 4. And then we're just gonna choke to some random team. Maybe it's gonna be Jacksonville. Maybe it's gonna be Indy. Maybe it'll be Detroit. Who really knows? But one of those teams that probably we should get a win. Um, we don't. But so I think we're a 12-5 team. So I think we start out win with Arizona, loss in Miami, beat Jacksonville, loss in Baltimore. I think we beat Houston. Then we beat the Jets. We beat Tennessee. We beat Seattle. And then November 3rd, when Miami has to come into Buffalo, I think that's when we beat Miami. I think we beat the Colts, lose to Kansas City, bye week, lose to San Francisco, beat LA, beat Detroit, beat Patriots, beat the Jets, and then beat the Patriots again. I like ending Patriots, Jets, Patriots, especially if the Jets aren't kind of as good as they might be. Like maybe there's something that goes on, or Aaron Rodgers isn't what Aaron Rodgers like used to be. Maybe there's some struggles there. If not, if he comes back and he's like in MVP form, then we probably lose one of the games to the Jets, and maybe that's where we get the fifth loss. But I think we beat both games against. I think we win both games against the Patriots. I picked a loss to Kansas City and a loss to San Francisco just because you can never bet against those teams. We've beaten Kansas City in the regular season, I think the past 2 times for sure. Remember last year was that crazy offside rule call. The guy was lined up in the neutral zone and Travis Kelce threw that lateral that didn't count because the guy was offside. They scored a touchdown. Now watching that game, yes, there was a minute 13 seconds left and 100% Allen would have. We were moving the ball so well that game. We would have went down and at least kicked a field goal to win the game. But I still picked Kansas City to beat us. I think they got a little bit better this year. They have a little bit more of a they have a little bit more, I think, skill at the wide receiver position. They don't have Kadarius Toney anymore doing that stuff. They have Xavier Worthy, who's going to be a handful for us. And I also picked a loss to San Fran in after the bye week. I don't know what week number that is. I think that's week 13. Yeah, week 13, December 1st. I picked a loss. Even though San Fran has to come to Buffalo and will be sitting for a week, they're just a really, really, really good team. I don't think they have any weaknesses. But we could shock I wouldn't even consider it to be shocking the world if we were to win that game. Bills are 6-0 against coming off a bye, I think, in the McDermott era. Like I said, San Fran, they're going to have to come from California up into Buffalo, probably playing in the snow, probably changing their. But I mean, that's why San Fran is good. They can give it to you however you want. You want a running attack? Okay, we got the best running back in the world. And then even off that, the short little play action routes to the tight end. Okay, they've got a top 5 tight end in the league. You want to do some trick plays, getting some guys into space or whatever, those little wide receiver screen plays because it's too cold to be doing whatever. Okay, we got Deebo Samuel, one of the best Swiss Army knife style players in the league. Like they'll just play whatever style of football you want to play, and they're better than you at doing it. And obviously they got Fred Warner on defense. They've got Bosa. They've got, I always forget how to pronounce his last name, Hufanga. And what's the other guy's name? Charvarius Ward, I think is the corner that they have. Like they're just there's zero holes. They've got no holes. They're a very good team. They'll and because they are so well rounded, they like I said, they'll play anywhere and do anything, and they can be really damn good at it. So that's why I predicted that, but I could see a world in which Buffalo resting for a week, sitting there waiting, game planning for 2 weeks, having San Fran travel up to Buffalo, playing in conditions. I can see the Bills squeaking out a close game. I still predicted San Fran to beat us though. But yeah, that's my record prediction. A 12-5 season, I think, will be. I don't know how deep what the pecking order is for tiebreakers, but I think it's going to be interesting to see who wins the division, because I think past head to head, I think it's maybe your division your record within the division, because I think Buffalo and Miami are probably going to tie record wise, and I think they're going to be I think Miami is also a 12-5 team. Depending on how well they do down the stretch, they'll be 12-5. They'll both be 1-1 head to head. So then it'll come down to the division record, and it'll kind of depend on how well both teams do against the Jets, because both teams are going to beat the Patriots both times. But yeah, so I think the Bills are going to be tied for that conference division title. I think ultimately we will. I think if it comes down into those later games, that's when Miami does tend to crumble a little bit. They don't play so well late in the season. They don't play so well in the cold weather. So I think ultimately it all equals the Bills winning another division title, getting the second, third seed. They're not going to finish first because Kansas City, I think, plays in probably one of, if not the easiest division. I don't think the Chargers are any good. I don't think Oakland is or what are they now? I don't think Vegas is any good. And Denver is not going to be good. Denver might be the worst team. And then it's Kansas City. So they're going to finish first by a mile in their division. And that's 6 wins right there that they're pretty much guaranteed to get. So I don't think the Bills will get first in the conference. I think Baltimore's also up there. But if it was ever to come down to it, I think if that game week 4, I think it is, against Baltimore, is going to be important for the seeding of the playoffs. So hopefully we get that. If we beat Baltimore in the regular season, well, then we're now the 2nd seed as opposed to the 3rd seed kind of thing. So that's where I see it. I see us at least getting one playoff win as well. If we're playing, if Miami squeaks in as a wild card, and we're the 3rd team and they're the 6th team, then okay, boom, we get a win against Miami in the playoffs. So I think we'll get a playoff win. I don't know how much further than that we'll go, but a division title, a playoff win, is kind of the most you can ask for in a quote unquote rebuilding year where we lose all these guys. We're just trying to get ready for next season's free agency and all the cap space that we'll have to sign a big name player, a big name offensive weapon, or we'll just see how it goes. I prefer us to spend that money on the defensive side of the ball, but we'll see how the season plays out as it goes on. We'll kind of determine where we need to spend all that cap that we'll get next year. If it is glaringly obvious that Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel can't get it done, then yes, of course we need to go out and get ourselves a wide receiver. But I think overall we need to. I've been preaching it all off season. We need to get a safety. We need to get a corner to play opposite of Rasul Douglas. And yeah, I think that's how I see the season playing out. Anyways. Okay, so the team awards. So I'll do team awards first, and then I'll do the same thing, but I'll do it on a league wide basis. How I think the actual award um, will play out. So first the MVP. Obviously, our MVP is Josh Allen. He As he goes, we go. He accounts for like 80% of our offense. I think he accounted for 70% of our touchdowns last year. Like he's just our whole team. When our defense is struggling, it's Josh, you need to outscore this team. When our defense is playing well, it's Josh, you need to get us a touchdown to win the game. Like um our whole the only way we win is if Josh Allen plays well. So I think that's why he's clearly the MVP on our team. Offensive player of the year. This one it was tough. I went between James Cook and Dalton Kincaid, but I think ultimately, because of the amount of targets that he's going to get, I think it's going to be Dalton Kincaid. Um, you know, came in as a rookie last year, looked really good. Um, Only expecting more of that, more targets, more touchdowns, more yards. I think he's just going to have an absolutely monster season. I think he's a tough matchup, really, for anybody defensively. So I think, and especially once Allen and him are on the same page and they can kind of do that Travis Kelce Mahomes thing where it's just backyard football, scramble drill. Josh Allen running around, Kincaid is going to be there for him. Defensive player of the year. This one was also a struggle for me because I don't think, like, with Milano being out, it probably goes to Terrell Bernard. But I didn't want to just say Terrell Bernard because that's kind of like putting a lot of pressure on him. I think, from my eyes, like he's still um, pretty new and he's still going to have to be figuring some things out. So I went with Ed Oliver as my defensive player of the year for the Bills. What did he end up with last year? 9.5 sacks. I think if he has another season like that, especially last year, especially with Daquan out for the amount of times that he missed and Ed Oliver filled in, if he gets or stepped up, if he gets a full season beside Daquan Jones and offensive lines are having to guard both of them, I think it's going to be a huge year for Ed Oliver. I think he's going to be stopping the run. I think he's going to get after the quarterback. So he's my prediction for defensive player of the year. Offensive rookie of the year, it really was between Ray Davis and Keon Coleman. I went with Keon. I just don't think Ray Davis is going to impact enough games to ultimately take that away from Keon. Keon's going to get targets. He's going to get red zone looks, and if he plays, if we get that 5, 6, 700 yards and a handful of touchdowns from him, then he's definitely our offensive rookie of the year. Defensive rookie of the year was tough to choose. We don't really have many rookies on defense, especially none that'll be playing. So I just went with the only guy who's probably going to see. I just went with the guy who's going to see the most field time, I think, and that's going to be Cole Bishop. He was a little bit injured in training camp and in preseason games, and but the last we saw of him, he's out practicing and looking like he's at least going to get in some games. So I think that's really the only reason why I chose him. And then coach, I went with the new coordinator, defensive coordinator Babich. I just think that of the three main coaches, head coach McDermott, offensive coordinator Joe Brady, and defensive coordinator Babich. I think Babich is the one who needs to have the best season. I think him in the new role, I think is going to be big for the Bills. So he was my pick for the coach of the year. Okay, so with that done, now let's run back through them. But I'll give what I think is the league wide winners. MVP, I think MVP was a tough one for me. I mean, MVP is just a quarterback's award nowadays. It doesn't actually go to the most valuable player. Um, like I said last year, I probably would have given it to Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I would have given it to a whole bunch of people over Lamar Jackson. Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen. Who else? I know I'm drawing a blank on some other names. Dak Prescott probably had a better season than Lamar did last year. Brock Purdy probably had a better season than Lamar did last year. I think there's just anyways, it's more of a popularity quarterback contest than it is anything else. So that's why I think it's going to be Jordan Love who wins it. The hype train around him is good. The hype train around him is going crazy. If they are a good team and if they win their division, which is a really, really tough division, if they win their division, well, then you can lock up that award for him. Offensive player of the year. I think Tyreek won it last year. I don't think it's that common to go back to back. Or no, was it him or Christian McCaffrey? I think it was Tyreek won it last year because McCaffrey was too much in the MVP talks. I think to win the MVP to win the offensive player of the year. So I think this year McCaffrey will get the offensive player of the year. He's just if he's healthy all season, he's unstoppable. Running the ball, catching the ball, he's a touchdown. He's everything. He's everything. So he's my offensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year, similar to MVP, is just a sack award. I said on the Super Show last week that I think mainly because Willie is a Raiders fan, so I gave Max Crosby a shout out and said that he could win it. But I think it's probably going to be Myles Garrett, just because I think Myles Garrett is an absolute beast who's going to get the most sacks this season, and that's generally who wins that award. Offensive rookie of the year, similar like. There's a theme in all of these things for sure. MVP is a quarterback. Offensive rookie of the year going to be Caleb Williams. I think is just one of those things. He plays the quarterback position. The hype around him is going absolutely crazy. The expectations around the Bears are, I'll say, they're not even like. Everyone's like, oh, they could do this. What if they do this? What if they do that? No one is actually saying that they're going to be good. So if they are actually good, then I think Caleb Williams gets offensive rookie of the year. Defensive rookie of the year. I said the same thing on the Super Show last week. I don't really know who's like. It wasn't really like a huge draft class for defensively for like someone who could win the defensive rookie of the year. I think the pass rusher that Miami got, Chop Robinson, he has a really good shot of winning it. And then I also said that on the Super Show, I said just to shout out the white corners in the league, I'm going to give Cooper DeJean a shout out and put him down as my defensive rookie of the year. And then for coach of the year, for me, it was a toss up between what's his name? Eberflus and Dan Quinn, the new head coach in Washington, and then Eberflus is the head coach of the Bears. And it's kind of going to be, whichever quarterback has the better season, I think that coach is going to get the coach of the year, because that's kind of how coach of the years go. Your team has to be bad and then be good from the off season, and then your team has to be a little bit better than the year before. And if we're talking about Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, if they're in the conversation of rookies of the year and all that kind of stuff, the coaches are going to get lots of the credit for doing that. And I think that ultimately that would lead to them, one of those two guys, winning the coach of the year. So my vote went to Dan Quinn, just because we know he's good on the defensive side of the football. So if Washington has a good defense, and then not only can they get the best out of Jaden Daniels, then I think that award goes to Dan Quinn. So that'll wrap up the show today, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Like I said, go check out at Mafia Members Pod on all social media. Mafia Members Podcast on YouTube. Go check me out on Twitter. Don't forget to check the link for the store. Go get yourself some Mafia Members gear. And yeah, we're just super excited for week 1 to start. Like I said, tune in Wednesday for the live shows. Every Wednesday we'll do a live show with whoever the Bills are playing the upcoming week. So we got Arizona lined up for Wednesday night. So tune into that one. It's going to be a big one. And yeah, as always, go Bills.